Alright, this is the part. It's kind of difficult to show you. Alright, now I'm under the passenger side or right side of the vehicle, if this happens to be a right drive vehicle. But this is a, I believe, yeah, 15/16 or 24mm plug right here, back towards the back of the transmission. This is the catalytic converter here. But this plug right here, it's very difficult to show you like any other way. But that plug is the fill plug. So we need to remove that plug in order to fill the transmission. And I'll show you how we're going to do that. That's about the best shot I can do for you right now. 15/16 or 24mm. And come to think of it, you should probably see if you could get that out before you get started. Because if you can't get it out, well, it's going to be pretty hard to fill the transmission. Okay, there's our prize. Right there. Hope you can see that okay. It's got an O-ring on it, so it doesn't have a crush washer or anything like that. Now we need to find a means to get the transmission fluid into the transmission. And I have this pump that I use to pump the differential fluid up into the differentials on this vehicle. But what I've done is I took it and I stuck it in my parts washer and pumped it a few times and ran mineral spirits through it. So I'm pretty confident that I cleaned it out for the most part, so I'm not going to contaminate my transmission fluid with gear oil. Now, I'm told that this transmission takes a special Toyota transmission fluid. In fact, they even said it's never to be serviced, but at 154,000 miles, I think it's time for this to be serviced. Now, I'm told by my parts person that I can use this Valvoline MaxLife in place of that special, really expensive Toyota stuff. And I read the manual, and basically it says that just a regular fluid change is just going to be 3 quarts, and that's without dropping the pan and without doing the filter. So if you're not going to do the filter and you're just going to do a drain and refill, 3 quarts will get you, according to what it says. But what I did was I took everything that I took out of the transmission and I put it inside this gallon jug. And from what I can see, I believe I am almost to the top of this gallon jug. It's real difficult to see down in there with the camera, but to me it looks like I've got about a gallon of fluid. Now I have a fresh container here for this transmission fluid, and I'm going to put it in here, and I'm going to pump it out of here into that, and I'm going to fill it up. You know, this bottle over here is filled up to about here. So I'm pretty much going to put in what I took out. I really hope that my parts guy was correct and that I can use this fluid, because I really don't want to put a transmission in this thing. And it looks to me like 4 quarts is going to be about perfect, since I'm not going to be able to get all of this out of the bottom, but I chose a clear container so that I could see how much was coming out. These are both gallon containers, so theoretically I should fill them up the same amount, and I'll be putting the same amount back in the transmission. And that looks like it's about the same. Yeah, with just those 4 quarts. So that took 4 quarts right there. So if you were to do this, I would say 4 quarts should do it for you. Now let's fill it in through that fill plug area. I'm sorry I can't give you a better view, but at least you get the general idea of what I'm doing. I've got my drain pan positioned up under to catch any excess that might dribble out. But I'm just going to take my hose, just run it straight up in. I'm doing this very slow because it looks like it's having some trouble getting in there. This is a very slow process. You don't want to go too fast, it'll all run out. Take frequent breaks. Talk to the camera. It'll make you feel better. Kind of like playing the accordion. I like that song by The Who. Mama's got a squeeze box she plays on her chest. When Daddy comes home, he never gets no rest. 'Cause she's playing all night. And the music's alright. Mama's got a squeeze box, Daddy never sleeps at night. Keep a sense of humor at all times. It's kind of necessary. We're out of juice. I was able to get just about all of it out of that jug. Now I guess I'll throw that drain plug back up in there and bolt the exhaust back up and just sort of take it for a test drive while it's off the ground first to make sure everything's cool. If everything's cool, then I'll button it up and take it out for a real drive and see how it shifts. It got a little messy under there. Clean it up. Now comes the dubious task of reconnecting our exhaust. And I like to take just a few squirts of transmission fluid or just regular oil and put it on those threads before I reconnect exhaust stuff. And I do this to try and prevent issues. Because I think we've had enough issues from Mr. Toyota Truck for one day. I'm not showing you, but I'm reconnecting the exhaust hanger that I undid right now. Just because it's easier to hold this whole thing in place. All right, that's that side started. Pretty much the same drill on the other side. Very important that these get started correctly. If not, you end up cross-threading them. Might as well call it a day. Okay, it's been a while since I last checked in, but I'm just showing you my repair. I ended up just taking out the studs of the old exhaust and replacing it with these bolts. I just used the smaller holes, and I had to replace the gaskets on both sides. I also replaced the nuts on that side with some other exhaust nuts. So that exhaust repair has taken me some time to reach this point, but that's not what this video is about. I've also plugged my O2 sensor back in, so that guy's good to go. So now I'm going to go back to where I said I was going to go, and we are going to just sort of run the transmission while it's up off the ground and see if it goes through all the gears. If it does, I'm going to put the secondary splash shield back down, or bolt that back on, and then we will take it for a drive. Actually, I'll probably take it for a drive tomorrow during the daylight. But that way we can ensure that it's shifting correctly. I know I put the same amount of fluid back in that came out, so it should be good as long as the fluid's good, and that's really on my parts guy. Hopefully he came through on me on that, and his listing was correct. Okay, I'm gonna start this up, shift it through the gears, make sure the fluid's completely circulated through. I'm gonna run it and try to shift it while it's up in the air. I may have an issue with traction control. Sometimes there is. When you do stuff like this, it starts kicking in. If there's a button to turn it off, turn it off. My exhaust is nice and quiet. Shift it into gear. Reverse. Neutral. Drive. Yeah, traction control is kicking in. Yeah, I don't see any way to turn off the traction control. So we're not going to be able to run it while it's up in the air like this, but it slips into gear, goes into drive, goes into reverse. Right now the traction control is kicking in. Suppose I can find whatever fuse goes to that and pull that fuse. But I'm just not inclined to do that because I know my fluid and everything's good. So I think at this point a good test drive is going to get us where we need to be. Okay, we're back. I am feeling a little better. I was actually there till about 1:30 in the morning working on this truck, messing around with that exhaust stuff. That was not fun. But we're back. It's the next day. It's a little bit rainy, but I want to take it out. I want to run it through the gears and see just how it feels, how it's shifting. And hopefully it's shifting good. And if it is, I give it a little pat on the backside and send it on its way. So let's take this for a drive. Barely even tell this thing is shifting. Personally, I think it's doing fantastic. I mean, it feels solid, it feels smooth. I'm actually quite happy with the result. I think it's a keeper. Let's see if it'll kick down nicely. I'm gonna wait and get it up to temperature to make my final assessment, but so far, really good. Okay, now we're pretty much up to temperature, and I'm gonna run it through the gears here. 4. Lockup. I felt all of them and they were barely perceptible, but I was listening to the engine more than anything. I would say, at least for now, that MaxLife fluid seems to be working. Well, time will really tell. But as far as how the transmission is shifting and driving, it seems to be shifting and driving fine. There doesn't seem to be any issues at all. Back to the shop. Well, I'm glad that test drive went well. For those of you that are paying attention, it's still nighttime, and I'm going to do my test drive tomorrow during the day. But I'm sure everything went fine with that. Changing the transmission fluid in these, I said in the beginning that the service interval was somewhere around 60,000 miles. I'm incorrect in that. They say that you should never have to service this transmission, that they being Toyota. And they also say to use their very special $30 a quart fluid. That may be true. I'm trying this. I'm going on the recommendation of my parts guy that I actually trust pretty good, and his listings are usually pretty good. His instincts are usually pretty good. So we're going to try out that MaxLife and see where we go with that. If I do have a problem with the MaxLife and it's not necessarily shifting like it should, what I would do is just do a drain and refill. It's got the drain plug in that transmission pan, and then the fill plug on the side. That's going to be your trickiest part, is trying to figure out some way to fill. If you can get like one of those pumps, you can find them sometimes at like your tool supplier or what have you. They're just like a little squeeze bulb or something. It does the same thing as what I did. All you need is something to overcome gravity and get that fluid up into that hole, which is a little difficult to access. And I think 15/16 or 24 millimeter, either one of those I believe will work to get that fill plug off. As far as capacities go, if you're just doing a drain and refill and you're not doing the filter, 3 quarts is all you should need. You can do like I did, and as you drain the fluid, you can pour it into something to where you can see how much fluid you took out, and that way you can add an equal amount back into the transmission, add a little bit more. I probably lost maybe 1/8 of a quart or so dripping down the side of the transmission just because it was so difficult to access that fill point. So that's something else that might be a helpful tip for you. As far as dropping the exhaust, yes, that cost me some time, a lot of time. I didn't take you through that part of the journey because, you know, I just kind of wanted to be by myself. Doing that and just getting it done, which I did. And as I said, I replaced those gaskets, I replaced those fasteners, and there are no exhaust leaks at this time. So I wouldn't feel comfortable letting it leave like that. But if you do have to drop the exhaust, and this is why I bring this up, you need to be prepared. I would be prepared with a torch. I'd be prepared with a cutting wheel. I'd be prepared to replace the fasteners and studs or whatever you have there. I don't believe you're going to be able to get the pan out without dropping the exhaust. So know that. So that's your catch-22. If you're going to have to drop, if you do feel that you want to change the filter in addition to the fluid, you're really going to have to drop that exhaust, and you may have a fight on your hands similar to what I had here. Other than that, I have nothing really further to add. It's not that bad a job. It's tedious, and if you have trouble with the exhaust, of course, that's going to cost you some time. But overall, it's really no different than changing transmission fluid and filter on most vehicles, with the exception of not being able to fill through the dipstick, which presents its own set of challenges, but it's not impossible. Some people are really afraid of this. In fact, I think this video will actually be helpful to a lot of you that are, find out that there's no transmission dipstick in this and wonder how when you're going to change the fluid, how you're going to change the fluid. Well, that's why I made this video for you. Anyway, I am Eric the Car Guy. You can always find me over at EricTheCarGuy.com, where if you have automotive questions, I suggest you type in a couple of keywords to our search box up at the top of the homepage and also the forum page. And you may come up with an answer. We've done a lot to make our database as accurate as possible, and we've got tons of stuff in there. Also, you can punch your check engine lights in there also to get answers on that stuff. And if you don't get an answer there, feel free to sign up for our forum. It's absolutely free. You just basically need an email address. So if you don't get an answer using the search function, feel free to sign up for the forum, and we'll be and post it over there under service and repair, and we will be happy to try to give an answer to your questions, your queries. You can also find me, Google+, Facebook, and Twitter. I post videos here at Eric the Car Guy on Mondays and Fridays, and I close with be safe, have fun, and stay dirty. And in this job, if you're gonna do this job, you're gonna get dirty. So have fun. I'll see you next time.